In the 2008 edition, Ghana was selected to host the tournament, and the tournament itself would stay with the same format. Ghana was joined by Nigeria, Egypt, Ivory Coast, Sudan, Cameroon, Angola, Senegal, Guinea, Mali, Namibia, Zambia, Morocco, Tunisia, South Africa, and Benin. In the end, Egypt would win their 6th championship after beating Cameroon in the final, and in the process would become the representative of Africa at the 2009 FIFA Confederations Cup. In the 2010 edition, Angola hosted the tournament, and it followed the same format. The qualifiers for this edition were merged with the 2010 World Cup qualifiers, as the World Cup was going to be hosted in South Africa. And so, in the actual tournament itself, the Africa Cup of Nations, Angola was joined by Algeria, Benin, Burkina Faso, Egypt, Cameroon, Gabon, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Malawi, Mali, Mozambique, Nigeria, Togo, Tunisia, and Zambia. Unfortunately, Togo pulled out of the tournament as they were a target of a terrorist attack in Angola 2 days before the start of the tournament. And I'm not going to give it too much attention, as I believe mentioning events such as these is the wrong way to go about it. So instead, I'll mention those affected by it. And I did my best to try to learn how to pronounce their names. Apologize in advance if I butcher them. So first, there were 3 individuals who lost their lives in this attack. These were Amelete Abalo, was the assistant coach at the time, Stanislas Oklo, who was a journalist for the Togolese television at the time, and Mario Adjoa, who was Angolan and the bus driver that was driving the Togo national team at the time of the attack. Other people injured were players Kodjovi Ibilale, Serge Akakpo, Hubert Belud, who was manager of the Togo national team at the time, Wake Nimbombe, Elista Kojolano, Divinelai Amevor, who was a physiotherapist, and Tadafame Waja, who was a doctor. The most reported one was the Kojovi Obilale case, as he was hit from the lower back, and the consequences of this critical hit caused his football career to basically be over. And the worst part of it is CAF was petty enough to ban Togo for the next 2 editions for withdrawing in this tournament. Again, something bad just happened, and they were like, yeah, you pulled out, banned. So, but thankfully, the ban was lifted and Togo could participate in the qualifiers for the next edition. And if you want to follow up on how FIFA, CAF, Togo, and players handled the situations afterwards, a simple search is close by. Now, for the tournament itself, in the end, Egypt would win their 7th championship after beating Ghana in the final. The 2012 edition was hosted by Gabon and Equatorial Guinea. Now, remember when I told you that Zambia's story wasn't over from the 1993 events? This is the continuation of it, and it has a happy ending. The tournament format was the same as the previous edition. The host nations were joined by Angola, Botswana, Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Libya, Morocco, Niger, Senegal, Sudan, Tunisia, and Zambia. In the end, the final match was played in Libreville, the same city from which the 1993 aircraft carrying the Zambia national team took off before it crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. In the final, Zambia would win their first championship after beating Ivory Coast in the final through penalty shootouts. And Zambia manager Hervé Renard dedicated the win to those who perished in that accident. The 2013 edition was originally supposed to be the 2014 edition, but CAF decided that they would now play their cup on odd number years to avoid clashing with the World Cup every 4 years. So the tournament retained the same format as the previous edition, and it was originally going to be hosted by Libya, but they had to withdraw due to the Libyan civil war taking place at the time. So South Africa, who was going to be hosting the 2017 edition, switched with Libya. Libya was like, yo, can you switch? They were like, yeah. So South Africa and Libya would then switch hosting rights, with Libya taking the 2017 hosting rights, and South Africa taking this one. So South Africa, now as host, was joined by Ghana, Mali, Zambia, Nigeria, Tunisia, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Ethiopia, Cape Verde, Angola, Niger, Togo, DR Congo, Burkina Faso, and Algeria. In the end, Nigeria would win their third championship after beating Burkina Faso in the final. The 2015 edition held the same format from the previous edition. It was originally going to be hosted by Morocco, but unfortunately the Ebola epidemic hit during that time, and Morocco requested for the tournament to be pushed back as the Ebola epidemic was hitting the West Africa region very hard. CAF said no, because of course they did, and gave the hosting rights to Equatorial Guinea. Morocco was handed a ban, but it was subsequently uplifted. And again, they were banned. Honestly, these CAF petty decisions make me feel, better about the fact that maybe CONCACAF isn't the worst confederation. I don't know. Who do you think is the worst? The jury's still out on that one. But anyway, so Equatorial Guinea was joined by South Africa, Congo, Algeria, Mali, Gabon, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Guinea, Cape Verde, Zambia, Tunisia, Senegal, and DR Congo. And in the end, Ivory Coast would win their second championship after beating Ghana in the final. In the 2017 edition, the format would continue to stay the same and was part of the 60th anniversary of the Africa Cup of Nations movement. Now, remember when I stated that Libya and South Africa had switched hosting rights and that Libya would be hosting the 27th edition? Well, to no surprise, Libya withdrew from hosting and Gabon was then selected as the host. They were joined by Morocco, Algeria, Cameroon, Egypt, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, Zimbabwe, Mali, Ivory Coast, Uganda, Burkina Faso, Tunisia, DR Congo, and Togo. In the end, Cameroon would win their fifth championship after beating Egypt in the final. In the 2019 edition, the tournament would change format as now the tournament would contain 24 nations. There would be 6 groups of 4 teams, and the top 2 teams of each group, alongside the 4 best third place teams, would go on to the knockout rounds. It was originally going to be hosted by Cameroon, but they were stripped of the rights mainly for 3 main reasons. Because of the Cameroonian civil war, the delays on infrastructure, and the Boko Haram insurgency. Cameroon would then agree to host the following edition, the 2021. Egypt was then selected to host this tournament, 2019, but the day did start a little bit afterwards, from June 15 to June 21st, because of Ramadan. So now the other 23 nations that participated were Madagascar, Tunisia, Senegal, Morocco, Nigeria, Uganda, Mali, Guinea, Algeria, Mauritania, Ivory Coast, Kenya, Ghana, Angola, Burundi, Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Namibia, Zimbabwe, DR Congo, Benin, Tanzania, and South Africa. And in the end, Algeria would win their second championship after beating Senegal in the final. Finally, the last edition to take place was the 2021 edition, and has the same format as the last previous edition. Unfortunately, this did become the 2022 edition, as apparently there were climate concerns for playing in the middle of July in Cameroon. So the tournament was moved to January of 2022. Also, Ivory Coast was the original host for this tournament, but remember, Cameroon had agreed to host the tournament after they couldn't host the 2019 tournament. And so Cameroon became the host of this tournament, the 2022, and Ivory Coast was selected to host the following edition. Cameroon was joined by Senegal, Algeria, Mali, Tunisia, Burkina Faso, Guinea, Comoros, Gambia, Gabon, Egypt, Ghana, Equatorial Guinea, Ivory Coast, Zimbabwe, Morocco, Nigeria, Sudan, Malawi, Ethiopia, Mauritania, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and Sierra Leone. In the end, Senegal won their first championship after beating Egypt in the final. The next edition was scheduled to take place in 2023, but has since been pushed to 2024 due to some summer weather concerns in regards to the host nation, Ivory Coast. Originally, Guinea was the host of 2023 edition, but again, Cameroon agreed to host the 2021 edition after not being able to host the 2019 edition. So Cameroon was given the 2021 edition, which became the 2022 edition. Ivory Coast was given the 2023 edition, which is now slated to be played in January of 2024, and Guinea is now slated to host the 2025 edition. However, Guinea has recently been stripped of their hosting rights due to inadequacy for hosting preparations. The new host is scheduled to be chosen sometime in September of 2023, in which the host for the 2027 edition will also be chosen. Allegedly, 100% something may change from here and then. The possibility is high. And that's the overview of the Africa Cup of Nations. Honestly, to me, this tournament has grown a lot, and it's unfortunate all the bumps it has to constantly go through, but I genuinely see how much this tournament means a lot to football fans in Africa. Now, moving on to finish the the Africa World Cup qualifiers from 1994 to 2006.